This is going to be more like a review for the ISC square. That's the CC, Certified in Cybersecurity. We are going to be covering everything we need to on the on that particular security certification. So I'm presenting my screen, and the ISC square is internationally recognized. So it's something you would definitely want to have, maybe just as a first, a first look into it. It's definitely going to be a very, very good first look into your classes. Okay, so can everybody see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right, that means we are good to go. So on this particular point, go straight to the isc2.org, and if you get to this point, click on this button. You might see sign in there or something. But if you want to just go the easy way, because where we are going to is just the courses, you can go through learn, just type in learn.isc2, isc2.org, and that should take you straight to the courses. So it's much more easier to get there this way. Okay, that takes me straight to my courses. For you, you might have to log in to get to this point. The IC square is tough for people, not because it is a hard exam, but because they do not give all of their information on the same page. So this was the account I created when I went to write the exam. If we go through it a little bit, you see I've not covered the topics at all. And I simply just, because when I saw the topic, I thought, oh, no, it's going to be easy. So I just went in there like that without covering the topics. So these ones that are here was because I was preparing for this class. I just to make sure we've covered the topics in our own classes. And what we've done so far is that everything we've taken in class, I know I didn't exactly tell you, but everything we've taken in class has covered most of all of these things. But we are going to look at it more in detail now. So if you are going straight into the exam, or you are still sure you are going to be passing the questions. The only problem there is that you might make some tiny mistakes. You know the answers, of course, but you pick something different, and that is where the issue comes up. So that's what we've been building throughout our sessions together. So I doubt that would be too much of an issue. So of course, this was the course introduction. That was there you had the exams to the test questions. I hope everybody has been practicing on that. Some people's exam is in 3 days. So, yep, you might want to look through the pre-course assessments so as to get ready just to see what we go through. So I think I've attempted this. The first time I attempted just once, and I don't even know my score. I can't see the score. I thought they used to write the score somewhere. But you can attempt as many times as you want. You can attempt as many times as you want. So we are going to look at it from chapter 1. I'm going to do a quick run through every of the topics they've put in there. And at the end of this particular one, I'll just throw in a little test. You know I like the test, so it's just going to be a tiny test that will cover everything we've looked at so far on each of the chapters. I hope everybody's ready. Okay. Okay, so chapter 1, under chapter 1 we have the overview of chapter 1, and let me put this down a bit, like this one. And we have the overview. they expect you to discuss foundational concept of cybersecurity principles, which will be where the CIA comes under. And we have the foundational security concept of information assurance, risk management definition, and all of those things. Risk management, types of security controls, distinguish between policies, procedures, standards, regulations, and laws. Is there anybody here that can distinguish between all four of these, all five of them? Oh yeah, well, please. So, is there anybody that knows the policies, standards, and all those things?
For what, Coach?
This the policies. This particular one: distinguish policies, procedures, standards, regulations, and laws.
Okay, okay. Uh, I only know regulations are like for government bodies. Huh?
Okay.
So, policies will be from the company.
Okay.
Procedure will be from like the IT guys or something.
Okay,
Or
that's still on track.
the employees rather. Okay, then the standards is that's the only one I'm because I already know regulations and laws will be from the government or the governing bodies, but the procedures will be what I can't really be sure of.
Oh,
Maybe the
okay.
process.
You're actually on track. You're very, very much on track. The standards you didn't get, those are definitely the ones for industry. So, um, that is just for the industry. So, I'm going to explain all of those things properly because the questions pop out a lot from them. That's why I had to just stop there and just
Yes.
push it through. They pour a lot of questions from that particular angle. When I wrote it, questions were so many on that particular side. So you also have to demonstrate the relationship among governance elements, and you can analyze the outcomes according to the canons of the ISC square code of ethics when giving examples. So what we are going to do now is that everything we are going to be covering on are things that I know are going to come out in the exam. And it's all very, very important. Very, very important. Take note that the ISC square makes sure the information is quite minimal and straight to the point, and that's where the problem comes from, because they say things that are not exactly going to come out in the exam. So they just give you an overview of it instead of giving you in depth of what you are going to cover. So I'm going to just skip that and we're going straight into module one. I have a full question, a full exam, a very tiny one on the chapter one, and I'm actually going to give that out. Let's see how we move. Let's see how we move with it. In module one, we are looking at the security concepts of information assurance. They have a video there. I can't really stay on the video, so you can go and watch the video later. The video is just them talking about what has been written, basically. So you can watch the video. The first one we have there is obviously the CIA triad. We all know what the CIA triad is. The C stands for, I think, what is it, please? I want to point to somebody. Please wait. Sorry, who is Odrizi? I've not heard that name before. Or am I Odirizi? I don't know if Odirizi can hear me. Or Odrizi. That's a sweet name, but I've not heard it before.
That's Chief Dibia.
Chief Dibia! You should have used Oracle. That would have been clearer for me.
No, that's my company's name. That's my company's email I use in joining. That's why.
Okay, all right. Chief Dibia, you've been absent from class for a while because of the whole thing. But
Yeah.
this question is going straight to you because I liked the name when I saw it. So, yes.
Confidentiality, that's what the C stands for. I know that's what I want to add.
That's actually very correct. That's very correct. CIA goes straight. The C stands for the confidentiality. Can Blessing, can you help us with the I?
Integrity.
That's great. Integrity. And Fumilayo, can you please help us with the A?
That's availability.
Yeah, you pronounced it like how I would have pronounced it, I think. Yeah, that's correct. So availability it is. So we all know about the CIA triad. It can't be anything new. Now take note that they would not ask you the questions directly like that. Nobody is going to ask you was C, was I, was A. They're going to give scenario-based questions. So when you get here, we have an expert.
Confidentiality relates to permitting authorized access to information while at the same time protecting information from improper disclosure.
Okay. I think instead of just playing it, let me see. ADL Gold. Can you please help us with the definition for the availability? What exactly is availability protecting?
I think if the what availability is protecting is if the information gets to user
Yes.
without being altered.
Exactly, that it must be just like the name said, available. I don't even know any other way to to define that. The information must be available. That is the point. So that's what availability is looking at. And if you are to look at confidentiality, confidentiality means you are trying to make sure that nobody else is having access to that particular information except the person intended for it. And integrity means nobody has changed it. So that's all they have on this particular place. When you're saying the questions, of course, you will see it in ways that look like Suzanne. Suzanne wanted to send a message to James, and the message was intercepted by so so so. What aspect of information security was broken? So that is how it would mostly work. So we look at something about it here. We have the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and here they go ahead to define everything about it. Over here too, you should know about this personal identifiable information. I hope everybody knows about that. It is basically what identifies you. All of those information we put on forms are basically personal identifiable information. So let me see. Yep. We also have the protected health information too. This one is about your health status. That's why they protect your any information relating to your health, your state of being. You see the hospitals trying to make sure that it's not publicized. Sometimes they might not even tell the family members. It's going to be straight to you yourself. And then we have the sensitive information. Those ones are those that are also more like Coca-Cola's what do we call it? The recipe and all those things. So we have all of those things marked under the confidentiality. Those kind of informations are to be confidential. They are not supposed to be spread around. So we have the integrity where we have making sure that the data is not changed, of course. And here we have the measures. It measures the degree to which something is whole and complete, internally consistent and correct. The concept of integrity applies to information or data, systems, processes for data, business operations, organizations, people, and their actions. So basically, what you want to make sure of with data integrity is that nothing is changed while it is moving or while it is somewhere, anywhere it must not change. Remember that we have encryption just simply for that purpose. That's why we have encryption. Encryption makes sure that the data is not changed while in transit. It's why we have the digital signatures. If you click over here and click on connection is secure, you see this certificate over here. If you scroll down, you can see the keys. This is the public key for it. All of this is done as a method to make sure that your data remains the same. That remains the same. Digital signatures, all those things, just to make sure it has not been tampered with. Integrity. always falls under that particular one. Then we have the availability, of course, making sure that it's available. The problems that happen with this is when you do the DDoS attack, for instance, that you did in class, you are stopping availability. You're not using it, you're just stopping it. You don't want anybody to have access to. The big example I always use, of course, is like me and that girl in class back in primary school. When I want to send a message to her, I have to send it through my friend, of course, because she's sitting down at the other edge of the class. When I give him the message, he opens it, he has destroyed the confidentiality. Even if he ends up sending it to her, confidentiality is no more there. He has read it already. If I send a message and at this point it gets to him and he changes the I love you to I hate you and sends it to the lady, integrity has been destroyed because that's not the same message anymore. And then if that's in a situation where I send the message through him and maybe he's about to send it but the teacher intercepts it and destroys the message, then availability has been destroyed. So when it comes to confidentiality, a good example of attacks that happen on confidentiality level is like the man in the middle attack, because you are simply reading what is going on. Imagine you are reading somebody's WhatsApp chat. That is confidentiality gone. Integrity would be examples of you changing the information that is being sent between 2 points. We're doing that with Bob's suit. And then we have availability being the DDoS attack. So we covered a lot of those things. So if you can just understand it casually, of course you can answer any question in the exam. I hope everybody is supporting the test we are having at the end of this class. Even if you don't support it, I'll throw it in anyway. So don't even bother. All right, so thank you. Let's move forward away from here. That was all about CIA. But then there's another method of information security. That is authentication and authorization. Authentication. Anywhere you have authentication, they are trying to know if you are part of them. So it's mostly the username and password things. But then we have three parts to it. We have the something you know, we have the something you have, and we have the something you are. Those are what they use for authentication most times. You just have to know these three because that is where a lot of your questions will be coming from. A lot of it, I swear down. These people are annoying with these questions, but they try to twist it in so many ways. So it just depends on how you understand it. Those three are the methods you always see. Something you know, something you have, and something you have. Does anybody have any question on this, please? Hey, nobody has question. No. I feel like I hope everybody's understanding. Okay, nobody's talking. Let me just keep talking. Okay, so basically when you have something you know, that's based on your maybe like your username, your passwords, all those kind of things. You know it, so that's something you know. Something you have will relate to those extra maybe one-time passwords they send to you, or those smart cards, or those things that are used to get into a place. Is also a method of authentication. And then you have something you are, which is basically your biometrics, maybe fingerprints, your retina scan, all those things. Some people have this fingerprint stuff they use on their laptop. Like in Red Team, there was a time we're trying to put in a password on somebody's system. I can't remember who it was, but then he had to use his fingerprint to unlock it. That was something you had. Now, if they are using 2 or 3 of these particular methods, that's when we call it MFA. If you use password and maybe security question, both of them are something you know. Security questions like where were you born? What's your pet's name? It's something you know. So both of them, password and security question, are both something you know. That is not MFA. That is still just one single authentication method. For MFA, you must use at least 2 of the three methods of authentication. That is, after they put in username and password, you now go ahead and say use your fingerprint. Now that is MFA. Or you put in username and password and then you have to put in an OTP. That is MFA. Not just one thing. You have to use two of those things for MFA to be achieved. I hope everybody gets that because questions pop up from there. I have some questions in my head I saw in the exam hall and it came directly from there. They keep on asking it in trickish ways, so don't mix it up. They might say use tokens and then use the smart cards. Is that a method of MFA? You have to say no because it's still something you have, and you should be able to distinguish between something you know, something you have, something you are. Those three, very necessary you distinguish between them. So under the methods of authentication, of course, they are still talking about the something you know, that's knowledge based, something you have, that is token based, and something you are, which is the characteristics. So we can see here that there are two types of authentication. We have the single factor authentication, and that is the SFA. That is when you are using just one method of authentication. And then we have the MFA when you are using at least two or more, like they wrote it in there. So yep, I hope everybody got that one right. That's all they are explaining there. All what we talked about is what is in here. You can go ahead and read on it as much as you want. We have a video here on proving identity where they just go ahead and explain all these things. But the next one we have right here is non-repudiation. We've spoken about non-repudiation. I don't know if somebody can give us a little bit cover on it, please. Thank you. I am waiting. Anybody? Anybody at all, please? Nobody wants to talk about it. Fumilayo, please help us out. I hope we are still here together. I can't hear from Fumi. Okay, since Fumi is not available, let's try Chief. Chief, can you please help us with non-repudiation?
Ensuring that transactions or ensuring that transactions or whatever you have with someone cannot be denied.
I know Chief would say transactions, and I was not even surprised. But you're actually very right.
Yes, now trying to keep an evidence, an written evidence that something cannot be denied.
that, that is actually that's very correct. Yes, you create no reputation just so that the person cannot say, oh, I didn't know about it. That it's more like a form. It works with business. You want to make sure that the other person does not know about it. Blessing, do you want to have an input into it, please?
Yes, is like an individual from denying that they perform a specific action, even if they try to do so. So that can be achieved through different means, like the digital signatures. Then yeah, I think so.
Blessing just poured a lot of technicalities into the same definition. But you are both absolutely correct. So, yes, as far as you understand what it is, basically, you are not having any issues with it. Mr. Ayofe, can you please help us with it also? You can just give us your own version too. Mr. Ayofe, you are still on mute, so we can't hear you.
Yeah, non-reputation. I think I was just reading through it before I, I went so busy. So it's an agreement between. I think it's an agreement that protects both parties, so that one will not deny the fact that there was an agreement that was issued before the before like a chief put it, like before transaction began.
Yeah.
So I think it protects both parties in this scenario.
Exactly. Yes, that is absolutely correct. Yes, you are very, very much correct. So we had the blue team bring out the non-repudiation agreement there in class. You know, they popped one out. Yeah, there are so many samples online. You know, we could. Let me just open one up real quick. So non-repudiation agreement. Let's see sample. And okay, sample letters. Let's see for these opening systems. I want to see what they have in there. Okay, so intent, blah blah blah. All right, so everybody is to sign this particular letter. It's actually a full letter. It's not even just this one alone. So yes, you have a non-repudiation agreement that shows that, oh yes, this guy was part of the deal. It's not as if this person was not part of it. Everybody that signed it is directly part of it. So yes, Mr. Yofe is correct. Blessing is very correct. And Chief is also very correct. Fumilayo, I hope you join us soon. And I really hope Maro, rather, Maro is still on the call, because the next questions will probably
Yes.
be coming to you. Thank you very much. So basically, it's a legal term, and basically, it's against the individual falsely denying having performed a particular action. That's why you have all those things on your app, and that's why they have this app thing here directly, so that you can see it. Because when you are using your app, everything you are doing is being stored. Everything you are, all the transfers you are making is being stored. So you don't go, I'm not the one that did the transfer just went out. All those things are put in place due to non-repudiation. Okay, they even have the sample there, later denying they made it. Yes, so that is how it works. We have the next one being privacy. And with privacy, of course, you have to protect everybody's privacy. So privacy is always very important. Yes, so it's currently still loading up. But uh, we already know what privacy is. It's not going to be much of a big deal. Right below that, we have a knowledge check on the security concept, and I really want us to look through it. Is there anybody that is having his or her exam on Monday, please? Nobody's having an exam on Monday yet. Okay, that means we are still good to go. What is wrong with this? Why is it not loading up? Okay, it's taking time. Nobody's having an exam on Monday.
I think
Okay.
someone is having, but I forgot the guy's name now. Wait, I know he was sitting close to me. Monday. I don't know. I forgot the guy's name.
Eh, I really hope they get this video. That's why it's being recorded, so that everybody can have access to it, because I don't want a situation where everybody went for the exam and you're just not prepared for the questions you met in there. That's the thing. That's the thing. Oh yes, since the questions have not come up yet, I'm going to look at the questions later. We'll understand that one later. But for now, we want to see the risk management process. And yes, now while we were in class, we did not discuss risk outrightly, but it is something you know just by knowing all the risks that has happened so far. I mean, before you even registered for the class with TSA, you first of all calculated your risk. You definitely did not put the last money on you to come for the class, because that would be far too risky. So all of those things are falling under risk, and that's where we are going to look at it from now. So this is very straightforward topic. When you are looking at risk, you are just looking at the issues that could happen while you are moving in. But you would not have a definition for risk. What you mainly have is how do you recognize it and the types of risk and risk management. That's what you would see. So this is the definition for risk. You can take a look at it at any point in time. This is information security risk. They said reflects the potential impacts that result for the possibility of unauthorized access. Unauthorized access is going to lead to confidentiality being off, even integrity being off most times. Modification of information is going to deal with integrity, and disruption is going to deal with availability. Disclosure is obviously uh, confidentiality. So yes, that is what you mostly see. So there are two things that you always see when you see risk. You always see them talk about impact and likelihood. Impact and likelihood. Always you will see impact and likelihood. So there's a video there. You can watch the video. It's basically talking about risk management, but I'm going to look at the terminologies directly so we can treat it all through. So while that is loading up, we have a video on threats, vulnerabilities, likelihood. I think I should just explain it since we can't really be watching the video right now. Threats. What exactly are threats? A threat is simply anybody or anything, whatever it could be, that could pose a possible problem to your information or to your assets, anything. A threat, it's anybody, anything that could lead to it. Threats could be anything, totally anything. So for instance, you might just see a guy walking outside the compound. You're looking at him like, that guy is a threat. I don't like the way he's looking. It's definitely a threat. Vulnerabilities are the ways by which those threats can come into your organization. Okay, I think it has loaded up finally, but I'll just continue explaining anyway. So, when we're looking at vulnerabilities, those are open ways for threats. Apart from just threats, there are what we call threat actors. Threat actors are those people that will act on vulnerabilities. So vulnerabilities, for instance, if you look at the house we were staying at, the vulnerabilities there was that the gate was low, everywhere was open. We don't usually lock the doors, so those are vulnerabilities. It's something that a threat actor can act on, basically. So okay, an asset is something that you are supposed to protect, like your laptop's inside are the assets. A threat actor will probably want to pick up your assets. So asset is something you need to protect. Of course, within an organization, they have various assets. The people are the most important assets. Now, if you see any question where they are asking about the most important assets in a company, please always pick the people. Always pick the people, please. So people are always the most important assets, and they are in need of protection. Uh, um, the systems, the information, the database, everything are all assets to a company. Vulnerability is something that could cause a problem, or a weakness rather, that could cause an issue. And then we have the threats, is anything that could work on a vulnerability, maybe to get the assets. A threat is something that could cause a vulnerability, basically. What do they say? Risk is the intersection of these terms. Look, okay, yes. So risk will be the intersection of all of these three. So it's just something you just have to understand. And that's basically what they go ahead to explain with the threats and the vulnerabilities we have as videos in here. You can please go ahead and watch them. But since you already have the underlying idea, it won't even be a big issue for you. It's going to be very straightforward. When they talk about likelihood, they are looking at the possibility of something happening, the possibility of a risk. That is called the likelihood. I know that's what they are going to say in the video, but straight away, Likelihood is the possibility of a risk. Now we look at risk identification. How do you identify risk? Basically, with risk, you are just watching out for them. So we have this in the world of cyber. Identifying risk is not a one and done activity. It is always going to be happening. That is why you have a SOC analyst always watching out for the risk and categorizing them, and doing all of that, trying to see, okay, this particular risk, how bad will it affect us? That process of you checking how bad the risk will affect you is actually risk assessment. You're assessing the risk, and you can do that through various things. There are even some stuff online that will even help you with those things. So basically, you are looking at the company and analyzing its situation and trying to understand what would affect them in that area. So with risk identification, you need to identify the risk, then communicate it clearly, of course. The employees at all levels are responsible for identifying risk. Please, this was a full question. This question came out. Is everybody here, please? Let me make sure I've not taken people off. Is everybody still here?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I think
Okay, I think
Hello,
everybody is here.
Mr. Ayo,
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to join with laptop. I don't know why it's not working.
Oh, it says you are joined in as a companion.
I tried every means, so give me code now. Let me throw the companion away.
Okay, let me see if I can
Give
do
me code
something
so
from
that
inside
I
for you.
okay.
Okay, so I feel like maybe you have to.
Okay. I'm seeing you. I'm seeing it now because I want to
Okay,
disconnect from the phone.
okay, no problem. Please make sure you can hear me from the laptop once you are disconnected.
Let me try it because I've not
Okay,
even seen it.
this companion mode, I'm not really sure I've used it before.
Let me go. Let me go out of it and start again.
Okay. So this particular one we have here, employees at all levels of the organization are responsible for identifying risk. It was a full question, and it was asked as, what do we call this thing? They asked it using this, what's that thing again? Scenario based kind of question where they just ask you, um, who is responsible for protecting the organization, blah blah blah. Then they put the security, IT operations, the IT auditors, they put all those top things, and you might just see all of the above. So please, anywhere it comes to identifying risk, it's not the job of one person, it's not the job of just the SOC analyst, it's the job of everybody to identify risk. Even the billing personnel or even the cleaners could identify a risk and report it to the senior management. The person who will act on it will be the senior management or the senior IT guy, but everybody is responsible for identifying the risk. And once you've identified it, you protect against it. So we have a little note here. As a security professional, you are likely to assist in risk assessment at a system level. You'll be focusing on the processes, the control, monitoring, or incident response. Incident response means something happened, you are fixing it up. That is incident response. And recovery activities. So if you are working with a smaller organization or one that lacks any kind of risk management and mitigation plan, you would have to help them do that. So most companies that are just starting out might not have all those things in place. If you are coming there as their uh, maybe their IT assessment or their security personnel, you'll probably be identifying all these risks. The risk could be variable. It could be the fact that, okay, for instance, you remember um what they call it, that Wi-Fi. Remember, the password was admin. That was a security risk. If you are using popular passwords for any of your stuff, it's a security risk. So those kind of things, just risk identification. You're just identifying it right now. You're identifying it. By the time you are going to risk assessment, is you checking out how bad that risk is, how bad the problem could be. And when you are looking at risk treatment, you are fixing it up. But one thing I want us to notice about it, which is why I'm clicking on it, even though I've explained it, is the fact that we need to see who is in charge of fixing it, because that was where the questions came from. When it came to risk identification, remember it was everybody is responsible for identifying it. For risk assessment now, I want to try to see what it's who is responsible. It's the process of identifying, estimating, and prioritizing risk to an organization's operations, so including its mission functions and all those things. Risk assessment should result in aligning or associating each identified risk from the operation of an information system with the goals, objectives, assets, or processes that the organization uses. Common risk assessment activity identifies the risk of fire to a building. Yes. Okay. So fire alarms and can alert personnel to evacuate. Okay. Sprinkler systems don't prevent a fire but can minimize the amount of damage done. Okay. I need to see, let me see, who is in charge? Okay, yes, great. The result of the risk assessment process is often documented as a report or presentation given to the management for their use in prioritizing the identified risk. So basically, the person who will be assessing risk is mostly the IT guys. But the report will be generated by the IT guy, but the report has to be submitted to the management. They are the ones who are in charge of approving any treatment or mitigation that you've set in place. So senior management, please, just in case you see anything on risk assessment, senior management will be the ones in charge. Everybody can identify risk, but senior management has to be the ones that will allow you to fix it. So far, is there any question based on what we've said? Oh my god, see, I could not I've tried to subscribe for this thing, but it's not accepting my card, so I'm just stuck in it. Very much stuck in it. Does anybody have a Google this thing? I've tried it over and over again. It has refused to connect. It seems we all have to connect back in if the call dies out. We'll have to connect back in. And let me try it once more. And subscribe. Verify. Nobody said that is a security risk, or they just let me put it in. Well, anyway, it's not accepting the card. It's not accepting the card at all.
You don't go with that. We've seen your
Chief, leave me alone. so yes,
this
what's the call?
your Google Pay. Is it Nigeria?
Is Nigerian card though? It's Nigerian card.
Ah,
That's why.
No,
They
it will not
allow.
accept Nigerian cards. Since
And
Naira
I
has
don't
been
think it's
floated,
to accept Nigerian card though.
yeah,
not accept.
since Naira has been floated, no Nigerian card is accepted except you
Yeah.
have a dollar account.
Hey, God of mercy. I don't get money
Yeah.
for dollar account though. The
You can open a Paga visual dollar account just with 5,000 or 10,000.
eh.
Let me see, but give me
No,
time.
I have a dollar account, and a dollar account, but there's no money inside, so putting it there is not is
Yeah, so
pointless.
you can use the card. They just need the dollar account card.
Oh,
That will be acceptable.
okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
Mm.
I'll do that maybe after the class, because right now I'm not upstairs with the card. Well, let's continue. If the call disconnects, I'll send in another link. Anybody who can join in should please join in. Of course, it's still being recorded. But let's look at risk treatments real quick while we have time.
Coach,
Yes, sir.
JY. Yeah, so please, I have just a little question. You know, we talked about risk assessment now, and we said senior management would also assess that, not the whole of the employees or the IT guys in particular. So, who as for risk assessment, it's which person's job, which of the bodies altogether. That's what I want to just find out.
Okay,
If
for
you know, we said for the first one, it's everyone in the organization. For assessment, it's the same. It's still senior management as long alongside the treatment or what? I didn't get that.
no, no. Most times,
Thank you.
senior management will do the assessment. Like you submit the reports to them. So the risk assessment, they will decide whether they want to protect against the risk or not. But when it comes to fixing it up, in most cases, it is back to the IT guys' hands to fix up those problems. Most times, the senior management are just there to take the decisions. The IT guys or the security personnel are to implement whatever decision they take up there. So
Okay,
when
okay.
you get to the exam
So
hall, you just relax your mind and just, based on your own knowledge, just relax your mind and answer it as you want to.
okay,
So
that's fine. So for treatment and assessment, we'll go with senior management.
for assessment, treatment and assessment, yes, stick with senior management if they put it that way. Stick with senior management. But if it comes to the point of just treatment and you don't have the senior management there, but you have the senior IT staff or something like that, or you just have the IT guys there, please select the IT guys.
Okay, okay. Thanks. Can go on. Thank you.
All right, sir. So we have the risk treatment, and this one relates to making decisions about the best actions to take regarding the identified and prioritized risk. So with these ones, the decisions are dependent on the attitude of the management. Oh, look at that. They already have it there. So it's dependent on what the management says towards the risk and the availability, the cost and all that. Sometimes the management might decide that, this risk, the amount you said we should use to fix up this risk is too much for us. Alright? So they will say, let us accept the risk. That is, let the risk happen. Like we are taking the risk. We pray nobody breaks into our company through this method, or like we left our ports open. We pray nobody comes in through those ports, but we cannot fix it right now because the money is too much. So let us accept it. So even if it happens, they know that okay, they are the ones that accepted our risk, and that will depend on their risk appetite. The risk appetite means how big they can, how strong they are enough to accept a particular risk. That is how it is. So you might just touch on that. I hope that is even clear because I didn't really touch it too well. But I just want to go ahead and create a new meeting link before we move forward. New meeting, create a meeting for later, and copy, and that will be ready ahead for our class. Where do we go? Where do we go? Let's see. Okay, that's it. Okay, so I'll just push this one in, just in case we get disconnected. So back into the risk treatment we're looking at, and with risk treatment, it helps you to make decisions about what what the risks are. So okay, yes, right below that we have this little kite, and they are trying to talk about how the risk is being treated. Now there are 4 ways rather. There's risk avoidance. When it comes to risk avoidance, you are avoiding the risk altogether, meaning you are taking every possible measure to make sure this thing does not happen. That is risk avoidance. You are avoiding the risk. So you try to block everywhere. You try to maybe use another method. I think I mixed that up. Use another method totally in order to avoid that risk. Like, oh, so you mean if we want to launch a website now, it's possible for people to attack us from the website. Okay, we are not using website again. That is the avoidance part of it. So I'm clicking on it now. It's the decision to attempt to eliminate the risk entirely. This could include ceasing operation, of course. You just stop it. Like, okay, this thing is too risky. I'm avoiding it totally. Or some other thing. The organization leadership may choose risk avoidance when the potential impact of a given risk is too high, or if the likelihood of the risk being realized is simply too great. They will just stop it, like, nah, we are not doing it again. That is the idea with risk avoidance. With risk acceptance, they are saying, okay, so we can be actually here, we can't do anything about it. Let's just continue with it. If we get hacked, so be it. That's basically what risk acceptance will touch majorly on. So risk acceptance is taking no action to reduce the likelihood of a risk occurring. So you will see that it's always based on the management decisions, not the IT guys' decision at all. It's always the management. They're always the ones with the stuff. They're always the ones at it. So that is avoidance. And mitigation means you are taking away the risk. That is, instead of avoiding it, this time you are removing the risk. You are fixing up the issue. You are fixing it with mitigation. So it's the most common type of risk management and includes taking actions to prevent or reduce the possibility of a risk event or its impact, of course. And we have the risk transfer. With this one, you are just moving the problem to another person's neck. Actually, a lot of people do it. The management will do it a lot. They would possibly just call maybe an external security body to deal with it for them. That's why you see some people having what they call this thing. There is a name for it where the external security guys will be the ones that will fix up your issues for you. Oh, there's an example here about insurance. Of course, that is why people do insurance. You are shifting the risk. You are transferring the risk to somebody's neck. So all of these four things, these four come out in different scenario-based questions. So it just depends on how you can explain it. You can explain it and walk through it. By the time you are going through this video, if at all you go through this video, take note that if you know some of these things, you can try to skip right through it. You can play it, fast forward it, anyhow you want to run through it, so that it's much more better for you. We are still talking about security principles, which is actually the hardest part of everything. So we are good to go. So we have all of those things in here, but one thing there was not really much on risk priority. There's not really much on risk priority, but I'm going to click it anyway, right after the knowledge check. We have two knowledge checks here. One is on the risk terms, and the other one is on the risk treatment. So we are going to just take a look at the questions they have to offer us at this point in time. Before the question loads up, does anybody have any question? So I can see not many of us remain in the meeting already. So does anybody have any questions before we proceed, please?
Okay, hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, when reading through the the text,
Yes.
there's a place where I saw some signs like LB point two point something something,
Okay.
and
Yeah. I see it.
so I was
Yes.
like, what terminology is that?
Oh, that should be at the very beginning, at the overview, abi, or the chapters at a glance.
Yeah, at the very beginning I read through it, but I didn't since I just thought maybe they are not very important. Sha, but I think from getting to the main major thing, I began to see that I should have gotten what it really means.
Oh,
Okay, like you see B1,
yes,
L1,
like
2.1,
this on the
something.
screen. This
Yeah,
one.
so
Yeah.
what does that really have to do with what terminology are those? What do they really have to do with what we are doing?
Well, the L means lesson one. So this
Okay.
lesson one, 2.1, which is where we are on right now. Lesson one, 2.1. Because if you look at it,
Okay.
this is obviously chapter one, module two, which is the two, and this is point one of module two. So that is it.
Yeah.
The D.
Earlier on this Earlier
Sir?
on this morning, hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Earlier on this morning, Sarah posted something on the group chat.
Okay.
Yes, if you, the group chat question 31 1 point. Gulamon logs onto his system and opens a government file. In this example, Gulamon is D3L3.1.1. Before adding now reply to others, the answer is subject.
Oh,
So I was
yes.
wondering, yes, I was wondering what does that D, what those terminology, what do they really have any significant effects, or they're just a kind of I don't know.
Okay, this
That's I think
particular one. This
yes.
particular one here is trying to talk about D3. This is L3, which means lesson 3, chapter 1, verse 1. They are trying to tell you where the question is coming from in your exam so that it won't come out in the main exam. Oh, this one is because she was doing the assessment. So the assessment is trying to point you to where they
Okay,
got that question from. Like this one, this is lesson 3, or chapter 3 rather, 1.1.
okay, okay.
Yes, the D3 there, I feel it should be the drag and drop or something, but I'm not really sure on it. So I'm just going to leave it for now because I can't really tell what it's for. So we have this particular one here. Sir, does